Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today, as always, we have 4 new decks for you for the new season. That means we have a top deck for both of the new cards coming out today, both Surtur and Frigga, as well as 2 other decks that are made to get you to infinite in what should be the new meta. We're going to begin with Rock the Babies Iron Pals. This is a deck that was sent to me after it hit top 1000. This deck has also hit Infinite 6 seasons in a row, so you should be relatively safe using it, and it's got a ton of really good replacement options if you're missing stuff. You need Pixie, Mobius, Iron Lad, and Tribunal for this list. Luckily, 2 of those are Series 4 cards, and then you have the 2 Series 5 cards in Pixie and Iron Lad, so you should be able to get to this. If you don't have Ms. Marvel, that can be Omega Red. Nebula and Nico are good, but not requirements. Spider-Ham and Iceman are perfectly fine. Anti-Venom was Rescue prior to its release for basically all the Infinites, so that is a perfectly fine and viable replacement as well. It's worth noting that Rock the Baby will be live tonight on Twitch at that stream at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're willing to go check them out, let me know. Tell them I sent you. I will perhaps be going live as well later today. We shall see. All right. So again, this is a nice, easy deck to use for your climb right now. Everyone's going to be trying out the new card Surtur, and well, all the cards that counter Surtur don't do anything to this, while this has stuff like Iron Man, where it should just be able to go over the top of even the biggest Surtur lists. So for this list, you play turn 1 Nebula over Nico, unless Nico is either Destroy 2 or turn into a demon, because you would love to do those things to either Nebula or Pixie. Pixie is a snap condition on 2. But at that point, turn by turn is really hard to do, right? Because like Pixie shakes things up. If not, you're playing Angela. Angela's just decent stats for your Iron Man lane. Turn 3, you want Mobius or other early plays. Right? If you went Pixie, Mobius is your priority, but otherwise you are looking for other early plays. Turn 4, you can go Iron Lad. I tend to go Iron Lad, think Iron Lad over Ms. Marvel, over Anti-Venom, obviously pending hand. If you have all your expensive stuff still in your deck, and you didn't hit Pixie, Anti-Venom goes up the list. Anti-Venom and Iron Lad are here basically because they create a redundancy in the list that allows you to more consistently hit all your stuff. Turn 5, you want Iron Man, and then turn 6, you want Onslaught or Tribunal. And obviously, Pixie allows you to do some weird combinations thereof. And that's it. It's really simple. It's really powerful. It's cheap. It's straightforward. It'll get you infinite if you're looking for it. Cool. We're going to take one last look at this and then chat for a moment, and then we're back to the original Big Dumb Idiots decks creator with Surtur. So one last look at this list. Really cool. Props to Rock the Baby. Make sure you check him out on stream later tonight. And hey, I got a big thank you. We hit 15,000 subs yesterday during the day. I could not appreciate it more. All the support is through the roof. Can we hit 16,000 by the end of the year? We're about to find out, friends. We're about to find out. We're aiming for 16,000 by the end of 2024. Can we do it? Well, that's up to you, dear viewer. We bring you 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos. We give you 4 brand new decks every day. We have interviews with top Marvel Snap names. Whether you're talking Regis Kilbin, whether you're talking amazing deck builders like Lambie or Sizer, number 1 on the leaderboard Sizer, whether you're talking about the Marvel Snap lead designer Glenn Jones, we have all the news for you. We do bundle reviews. We do new card guides. We cover everything in Marvel Snap that you could possibly need for your journey. Make sure you hit that sub button, like, and comment. Please help us to our goals. Like and comment also can lead to a free season pass. Surtur has come out. Yesterday we gave away 5 season passes. Yesterday's video and every video from yesterday until Friday, so Monday to Friday's videos, the comments to those videos will have a season pass in them. All you have to do is sub, like, and then later this video, I'll tell you what to comment. You leave that comment and you are entered to win Surtur. You can enter every single day from Monday to Friday by just being subbed and commenting on the videos. All right, Surtur, for anyone who's not been as active. I know a lot of people wander away at the end of the season, especially with Pokemon's release. Surtur is a 3/5. It is the current season pass card, or will be by 2/3 p.m., depending on where you are in the world, at daily reset. So after you play a card with 10 plus power, this gains 3 power. So if you can play 110, so let's say you go this into Crossbones, right? You now have a 3/8. And then you play, I don't know, Ronin or Arrow or whatever, or just, I don't know, a Call Obsidian, right? You now have a 3/11. At that point, guess what? Scar is free. Unless your opponent has Mobius or hit it with Iceman or something, Scar is completely free. Which means that you can play Scar and whatever the hell else you want to end the game. say another 410, say a Shadow King or a Shang-Chi, say a Cosmo to protect all those suddenly 10 power things, because you sure probably have priority. There are so many different ways to go about this. This is through the roof powerful. This is going to basically shake up the meta immediately upon release. I think this is going to be an incredible and must buy card. I hope you win it. If not, if you can't win it, I hope you buy it. Also, if you need to counter it because you're not going to be able to do either of those, or you're just the type of person who wants to, the last deck in this video is a hardcore Surtur counter. Cool? Our first Surtur deck is Big Dumb Idiots Redux. This is from Gunny T. You might know Gunny T as the original creator of Big Dumb Idiots, the one that Regis Kilbin featured, the one that was all over the meta for a while. Yeah, that was a Gunny deck. Well, Gunny and I chatted for a few hours today, and we tried to rebuild what Big Dumb Idiots looks like in a modern meta. We feel like we want 3 1-drops because we need Cull Obsidian to be really, really consistent here. From there, you obviously want Surtur, right? You need the protection because I'm assuming that the instant that this shifts, Shang is going to be absolutely everywhere. So we want Cosmo and armor. And then sometimes you're just going to sort of whiff and you just need a really big thing. And Blob is fairly likely to be a 620 here. So Blob is a point of contention. It could be a lot of cards, right? But at the end of the game, if you can go Surtur into Crossbones into Cull and you have like Typhoid in deck or whatever, even if you have just the other stuff in deck, you can go Blob and Scar to end the game. And that seems completely absurd. You can find Gunny on Twitter at twitter.com/ChadUSMC, the ChadUSMC. He's Gunny T. He runs all the Marvel Snap tournaments, from the Snap Judgments League to the recent Creator Gauntlet. He's the best tournament organizer in the game. The only high series card you really, really need here is Scar. If you don't have Cull Obsidian, it could be a Tuma, and Gunny and I spent a long time deciding between Typhoid Mary and a Tuma. We ultimately decided to go with Typhoid, largely because if you put Surtur in the Typhoid lane, Surtur will still hit 10 and work for your Scar. So that gives you some extra leeway in that. Meanwhile, Atuma would have to be in the armor lane. You really don't want to blow up your Cosmo. That's pretty bad for you. Blob can be a Lithe or Destroyer. I'm not sure which of those 3 it wants to be. That's going to need a little bit of testing. I'm going to start with Blob as a way to just sort of steal a lane when people aren't ready. Destroyer would only really work in a lane that... Destroyer would only really work in the Cosmo lane, and that puts too much priority on having to play Cosmo at the end of the game, which obviously can be really, really rough. And a Lithe might just be the best bet here because it's the third answer to Shang. Zabu and Hydra Bob are both important here. Zabu is great in particular because it makes one of your 4s a 3 sometimes. Hydra Bob is just big stats. They can be Psylocke and Nightcrawler. Psylocke lets you cheat out of 4 when you don't see one of your key cards, and Nightcrawler gives you a movable place to play Cull Obsidian as a surprise. And finally, Shadow King can be Shang-Chi, a Tuma, or a Lithe. I'm not sure Shadow King wants to be in the meta. I know it was as of the previous meta, right? Shadow King was the most important tech card in the game. Let's see how that fares with things changing and us needing Shang-Chi more than ever. All right, so Gunny T's biggest, dumbest deck. Idiot. No, this is Gunny T's Big Dumb Idiots deck. It is his current take on it. So turn 1, you want Zabu over Bob over Squirrel Girl. Turn 2, you would really like Armor over a 1. Turn 3, you want Surtur over Cosmo. Turn 4, Crossbones or Cull, ideally, are better than Typhoid. Turn 5 is just whatever other 410, and if you can play another 1, feel free. There's some argument for 0 in that spot. If you do add Destroyer, please make sure you add 0 in for one of the 1-drops, because then you can go 410, 0 into Destroyer. You could also go Armor and 0 into Typhoid, for example, or Cull or Crossbones, because who cares if they have an ability. All right, turn 6 is Scar and Blob, or Scar and Cosmo Armor, or Scar and Shadow King, whatever silly combo you can pull off with Scar. And then you should be completely wildly strong. That's what we want to do with this list. After this, we're going to look at the Day 1 Frigga deck, the Frigga deck that we absolutely must have for Day 1 Marvel Snappin'. So we're going to get to that momentarily, but first, one last look at this big, dumb idiots list. Again, cheaper than it looks, stronger than almost anything. Put up big stats, make opponents answer you, ask questions, make your opponent have answers that you can then re-answer with Cosmo, Shadow King, and Armor. Should be an incredibly strong deck. I'm very excited to give this one a spin. All right, Frigga is the other card coming out. This is one that you'll have to use spotlights for. Frigga is a 3/3. On reveal, add a copy of the last card you played to your hand if able. So there's a lot of varied opinions on this. The consensus seems to be that this is a weaker card. But a lot of people, myself included, Den of Marvel Snap Zone fame included, think that this is going to be an incredibly powerful card, and we're sort of underrating what can be done with it. I have a definite day one idea for it that we're going to look at momentarily. But being able to play like a Mysterio into a Mockingbird, right? And then Frigga and a one drop to copy the Mockingbird seems really good. Even if you're just copying a demon, this seems really good. Once we can find the right deck in order to sort of like get a bunch of copies, this seems like it's going to be incredibly strong, especially with things that discount themselves or things that pump their power up. And that's what the deck we're going to look at, because this is Sizer's version of the day one Frigga deck. He changed one card from the one I sort of messed with earlier. This is already a damn near tier 1 deck in terms of stats. It's running Agent Venom, and it's running Sage in the Doctor Strange and the Frigga spot. I think Frigga is definitely going to go in this list, and Sizer convinced me on Doctor Strange over Agent Venom because, well, if I have Man and Web, I never want to play Agent Venom, and then there's a million other like Aranya, Human Torch type things I'd really rather do. Frigga basically creates what amounts to a fourth bounce card along with creating a copy. The problem with this list is very often you need two of Torch, Dagger, and Vulture to win the game. Well, what Frigga says is, no, I don't. I can just make a copy of one of them, and then I automatically get the second one that I need to win the game. It's easy to fundamentally throw Pariah with this list because you have three bounce cards, right? And then if you've got two big old Human Torches without priority, two big old Daggers, or two big old Vultures without priority that you can win with, the opponent is in trouble. You are going to have to bounce them, though, in order to keep them safe most of the time. You can find Sizer, the number one player in the Infinite Leaderboard. Is he going to be number one at the end of the season? We shall see later today. But Sizer is at twitch.tv/Sizer2654. You need Aranya, Madam Web, and Toxin for this list. Frigga can be Sage or Agent Venom. And if, again, those two get added as a package, particularly over whatchamacallit, over Doctor Strange as well. But Doctor Strange should be very, very powerful because you've got two slightly different powered high cost things, and you can bounce your Doctor Strange to like just really get a lot of extra moves out of your big power cards here. The only problem with Doctor Strange is not going to work with Frigga. But if you go whatever, like Iron Fist, Aranya, Iron Fist, Human Torch, right? You've now got that like 8 power. You can move that with Doctor Strange. You can bounce it back, and then you can Iron Fist, Human Torch again, and then just bounce it back, and then you still have that Doctor Strange that you bounce back to be able to move the second copy, and that should just be insane power right there. All right, so for number one player, the number one ranked player is also the number one ranked move player, the only player ever, I believe, if he hits it, to be number one with a move deck. Turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, Web over Torch, move twice. Turn 3, bounce Frigga or Vulture. Turn 4 is your second mover. Please bounce that or move that around. Turn 5, you bounce everything you possibly can, or you play Frigga. And then turn 6 is replay everything and go as tall as you possibly can. If this deck has enough energy to actually work the way it looks like it is, and it should, because the previous version was, remember, running another 2-drop and another 3-drop, and we know that was a tier 1 deck, then this might be the meta right now. I'm super excited for this list. I don't know if I'm good enough to play it. Bounce Move is the hardest archetype in Marvel Snap to play. Move is the hardest archetype to play, and Bounce is like top 5, so when you combine the two, it's really challenging. But if you're up for a challenge, if you're willing to lose games while you learn, this should absolutely dominate. Remember that we do a ton of work to get like a 15 power werewolf, right? You have to play an entire deck to do that. Vulture moves twice. Iron Fist into Madam Web to chuck it elsewhere. You've got a 15 power Vulture that you can then just drop a Frigga on. That's wild, right? Like come on, admit it. You want to do that. It is wild. You can have an extra 15 power Vulture going into turn 5, and then you can replay a whole bunch of stuff. Just absolute wild, wild stuff. All right. Our season pass question for the day is, what are you most excited for this season? Is it one of the new cards? If so, which one? Is it Deadpool's Diner coming back? If you're not sure about the cards, don't forget on Sunday's video, I did a full review of every card releasing this season. Hell, it could be a Spotlight Cache. It could be a variant. What is the thing in Marvel Snap you are most excited for this season? If you're interested in gameplay from these decks, I stream, but not that often, so you should check out the Stream Team. The Stream Team, it is Tuesday, so the great Prashaun will be streaming some gameplay. Make sure you check that out. All right, Comy's High Evo 2.0. We covered this list months ago. apparently on August 31st at the end of summer. Ah, gentler times. Well, this deck should be back because, well, the whatchamacallit list, the big dumb idiots list should be everywhere. Variations of it should be everywhere, right? One Scorpion basically turns off that list. All those 410s are now 4/9s that don't make Scar cheaper and don't trigger Surtur. Scorpion should be incredible. But let's say you don't get Scorpion, they get a couple of those on the board. Well, US Agent handles one of those. Red Guardian can if you can get Prio, and you should have more early play than they do, right? Your Red Guardian can take out that Surtur. Your Cassandra Nova says if they draw a 410, it's now a 4/9. If they do get lucky, you've got Shang-Chi, you've got Cyclops. For their lower cost lanes, you've got Man-Thing. Ajax can get as big as everything else, and Abomination is just a free 9 at that point. This list is wild. It is worth trying out. So you can find Comy's on Twitter at twitter.com/Comys01. This deck needs Evo, Ajax, Cassandra, and US Agent. I think you could maybe try without Cassandra if you really, really wanted to, and run something like, I would think Shocker would be okay. Um, Maybe even a Misty Knight, but I think Cassandra is really, really important here. Man-Thing can just be the Thing without losing too much. Red Guardian can be Rogue. I'd also think Man-Thing slash the Thing could be Rogue without losing, again, an insane amount. And Nebula in the modern versions of this is usually Silver Sable, but Nebula's perfectly fine, and so is Misty Knight. So feel free to go with any of that. All good? That is how you play the cards you can replace this with. It's worth remembering that Comy's is the current Marvel Snap World Champion for at least another 2 months. So he won the Marvel Snap World Championships, and he has created this perfect deck well before we knew what Surtur was in order to wreck Scar and Surtur. So turn 1, Nebula, whatever 1-drop you have. Turn 2, Scorpion is better than a 1, is better than passing. I will usually not drop US Agent on turn 2. And even if I would traditionally prior, longtime viewers will know, I often would drop US Agent turn 2. I think you need to save it in this matchup for a little bit later. Turn 3, you want Cassandra Nova or Cyclops. Turn 4, you want Man-Thing or Cassandra Nova or Cyclops are perfectly fine. Turn 5, Ajax if you want to end with a Shang Hazmat. Or you can go small and wide. This is a good spot to go like Hazmat with your name of the card. Hazmat with your US Agent is perfectly fine here. Hazmat with your Cassandra Nova is perfectly fine here. That kind of thing. And then turn 6, Ajax and Abomination. If you played Hazmat in the previous turn, Abomination will be free. Ajax will be obviously 5/7. Or you can play, if you got that Ajax out earlier and you did like a Hazmat on 4 and you got enough stuff hit, you can do like Abomination, Shang, Hazmat, some combination thereof in order to win the game of Marvel Snap. And there's little your opponent can do with it with the Surtur deck. This is going to be a meta killer on day 1. If you just want to beat up on all the Surtur decks, this list is both very good and very consistent and absolutely should wreck the meta. Give it some play. Longtime viewers know I like to stick this kind of deck at the end of videos as an extra treat for viewers who watch the whole thing. Questions of the day. The first is from Quid Pro Joe. What's the biggest change I'd like to see to alliances? So I want the discard and destroy and the fill all locations and the win 8 cubes to be far less. I want more just like things where I can play different costs of cards and stuff like that. I think those are the most fun. I want to be able to just complete my alliance bounties by claiming them and then playing a deck that does it without having to play a specific theme deck. I think that is the single biggest change. Obviously, give me some reasonable rewards so I don't have to do this 10 million times, and I would be all in. Drive Stort asks what Marvel character I want to get into, but can't, and I'm going to get yelled at for this, but it's the truth. I've never really, really loved Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not a favorite. He's not a character I enjoy. I like Miles Morales. I like Superior Spider-Man, but it is extremely rare that I like a comic book Peter Parker. I love Spectacular Spider-Man. There's other mediums Peter Parker that I really enjoy. Into the Spider-Verse, was fantastic. That's Miles. But even the Peter there is great. So like I like other universe Peter, but 616 Peter Parker is not the character for me. That is the single character I probably most want to get into that I just absolutely cannot. The other thing would be like I don't really want to get into them, but I'm not a big symbiote fan. Please note, Americans, vote if you can, vote if you're able. Voting is extremely important. I wish every single American would vote that is able to. It is a privilege and a right. And please, as you do so, remember to do so with kindness in your heart for all the people of the world as best you can. I will hopefully have a political video up before this if you're interested in a much longer political take from me. But remember, vote with kindness. You should know what I'm against. if you've been here for any amount of time. I am very anti-hatred. Anyone who hates other people, if you don't think trans people are human beings, if you don't think immigrants are human beings worthy of dignity and respect, then you are generally not welcome here. Vote with kindness. Kindness comes first. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm going to say thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Dirty Casual, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, J. Neverite, Thinking Poker, Grimed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood, Heretics Lee, The King of Questions, Koi Ray, Black Dahlia, Pyrofros, The Goat Seeker, Archangel 3K, Hallowed, Quid Pro Joe, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Ratkovich in the final four of the Snap Justice League still. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the James Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Xverse V, and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Tommy Nyquist, who won Snap Justice League Season 1, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Kepsi Huda, Lunacris, Corwin, John Q, and Jimmy McHugh. Q down, Clam, 8th Sage, choked myself that time, Mod Supreme Models, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Woot, Matt H., DJ Mega Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, BG, Zodrex, check him out on Twitch, The King of Canada, check him out on Twitch and YouTube, Deadman Falcon, check him out on YouTube, Jonesy's Triple Threat, check him out on YouTube, he's a content machine, Two Ties, the great Lord Devs, the Pirate King Tuccrr, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. That right there is the guide. That right there is my Glenn Jones interview. Click them both, and right below me is the sub button if you're willing to hit that. See you tomorrow for another Snap Take. I promise to have some awesome decks for you. Some with the new cards, some not. Peace.